With Errol Spence versus Ugas being officially confirmed and announced, Jerry's World, AT&T Stadium, that's a big fight for 3 belts. It's a unification. What will Terence Crawford do? How does Terence Crawford get the negotiating power from Errol Spence, who is on record saying, hey, man down, hey, stop that cap. He's saying he's the big fish. How can Terence Crawford contend with this? I'm about to talk about all that and more in this video, so you don't want to miss it, really. We unpacked. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego Unpacked. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you throw a like on the video. We working. Now, Errol Spence, it is fully confirmed at this point. His next bout is a unification with Yordenis Ugas, Showtime, Premier Boxing Champions, Man Down Promotions, and TGB Promotions to bring you this fight card. Unified World Welterweight Championship. You guys see it. Saturday, April 16th, again, AT&T Stadium, where the Dallas Cowboys play. Errol Spence says, I'm back. April 16th, AT&T Stadium. To all my fans, the pre-sale code is boxing, SeatGeek, 12 p.m. Today, let's get it. 3 belts on the line, which is the subject of today's video. 3. 1, 2, 3. Hashtag the biggest, hashtag man down, hashtag keep doubting me. Now, I've made separate videos, and this is why you guys got to follow the channel for the latest and greatest, because I wanted to separate the video. So I made an announcement video, and I wasn't able to expound upon some of the things that I'll be able to talk about in this video, just for the sake of continuity and keeping, each piece of content truer. That's something I'm really working on in my YouTube career for 2022. Just, making sure we give you guys the information you need. But this video is a little bit different. So now that the fight with Errol Spence Jr. and Ugas is fully official and confirmed, it begs the question, what's up with Terence Crawford? How does he fit in this particular puzzle? And as I've been saying for quite some time, I think Terence Crawford is in a bad negotiating position. And that's the reality of it. People can say whatever they want, say whatever you want about me, my channel, but this is what I see. This is what I truly see. It doesn't take away from the fact that Crawford can bang, he can fight. We know that. But boxing is so much deeper than that. And it's funny, when I say these words on camera, people pretend to act like they don't understand where I'm coming from. And in other instances, in the same sport with other people, they seem to get it perfectly. For example, reports came out that Canelo Alvarez may fight for upwards of $85 million against 2 fights that I personally am not anxious for, and that's Bivol and Triple G. You have a lot of fans and old media who are saying stuff like, oh, with that type of money, it's hard for Canelo to say no to that. Why would he say no to fight Charlo? Even though Charlo, he would get a lot of money and it'd be a bigger event, and you can probably make more money in a singular fight, fighting a better fight for the fans, right? These are the facts. But people, yet and still, they say stuff like, oh, at the end of the day, Canelo got to do what makes the most sense. So he got to fight the fight that nobody wants to see him fight. That's not a big fight in America, but he should do that because money talks. But those same people don't seem as quick to say this when it comes to Errol Spence. So how is it that when we're talking about Canelo Alvarez, everybody just bows down to his star power? Everybody bows down to what he represents for boxing or what he represents to other guys in or around his weight class. But then when it comes to Errol Spence Jr., people seem like they can't understand the whole big fish movement and why he's saying that he's the man to beat and keep doubting me and kind of rubbing it in Crawford's face. It doesn't make sense. You have Terence Crawford, who is currently engulfed in litigation. It's going to be a lawsuit. New York Post was the first to really put this on blast. Exclusive. I've made videos about this, but to recap, Terence Crawford claims that Bob Arum's, quote, revolting, RACIAL, bias has hurt his career. So it's crazy that you have diehard Terence Crawford fans who don't seem to be able to understand this. They're saying the words that are coming out of my mouth don't ring bells. Those naysayers, those fans saying it doesn't make sense what I'm saying, but Terence Crawford is suing his ex-promoter saying, hey, sir, you hurt my career. You didn't do the things that a promoter should do for his fighter. With quotes like, simply, Bob Arum does not care about, support, or know how to promote black fighters, and deliberately didn't put Crawford and build him into a marquee pay-per-view star, right? These are excerpts from the actual lawsuit, which was filed in the 8th Judicial District Court in Nevada. Crawford, quote, shines a spotlight on the systemic racism that runs through Top Rank. Top Rank's complete inability to properly promote black fighters. And Top Rank, Bob Arum and his stepson, Todd DeBuff, their disparate treatment of black fighters, including Crawford. Crawford alleges in further fighting talk in the filing, Arum clearly knows and allows this revolting bias to impact other fighters he's obliged to promote. So again, how can you make it like what I'm saying doesn't ring any bells and this is currently going on? So when we're talking about the things that I talk about, don't confuse me with nobody. I'm Ego, the one and only. I started this boxing and this the mother thanks I get. Hello, right? So the reality is, I've said the same thing. Crawford, legendary fighter, elite level skills, but we're talking about Crawford, the businessman, and the business decisions. You are currently involved in a lawsuit suing your ex-promoter saying things didn't play out well for me. But let Crawford say it in other interviews. He's making statements like Crawford on the Spence fight. If it ain't 60-40 in my favor, then the fight won't happen. So he's saying, I hold the cards, and he said this in numerous interviews and in numerous ways. I hold the cards. If it ain't 50-50, or at least me getting the lion's share of money, because I've done more than Errol Spence in his little career, then the fight won't ever happen. So for starters, the big problem I have with that is if you notice the situation, Terence Crawford and his side is the only side that has made such permanent comments regarding the Errol Spence fight, saying words like, you know how they say never. Crawford's team and Crawford have said never. The fight won't happen if, or I'll never fight him, or the fight is dead. Like, they're saying things that are more permanent. If you listen to Errol Spence and his team, Derek James or whatever, they might say something like, oh, Crawford doesn't sell, Crawford ain't been promoted right, or the numbers got to make sense, or Errol Spence has said that he got to take 70-30, 60-40, whatever we give him. All that's true, right? But one thing they have never done is completely write off the fight and say that the fight won't happen or never will happen, or the fight's dead, or never ask me about Terence Crawford because I will never fight him. But this is what Crawford has done. So it's going to be very interesting to see at this stage what Crawford is going to do to get some leverage back in his court. You know, I think there's only one decision that truly makes sense for Terence Crawford, and that's either to sign the PBC or establish some type of working relationship. I don't see how Crawford is going to be from the outside looking in, and everybody he's calling out, every big name established fighter that would move the needle for his career and solidify his legacy, right? Those guys are all predominantly with PBC. So if you do anything but sign with them or try to establish contact and work with them, it's going to be highly questionable, because as I said in an analogy before on my Twitter, if I'm hungry and I want some grub, and I specifically want Chinese food, I live in the Bay Area. Chinatown would probably be the best spot where it's sure shot that I can get some Chinese food, right? It's Chinatown, right? There's a lot of Asian restaurants in that section, markets, etc. It's actually one of the biggest Chinatowns in the world, if I'm not mistaken. So you guys get what I'm saying. You don't go to Krispy Kreme donuts or a bakery looking for Chinese food. You're probably not going to get it. You don't go to an Italian eatery or a pizzeria looking for Chinese food. So using this simple logic, why would Terence Crawford want or expect to get Keith Thurman, Ugas, Errol Spence, and not go over there, and Danny Garcia, anybody, and not go over there and actually mess with them, especially now that he's a free agent and can move about and make decisions, because he's already made, in my view, the wrong decision for quite a while. But at age 33, 34, you have the opportunity to make some decisions that positively impact you. So we have to wait and see what he decides to do. But the great Floyd Mayweather predicted this, all this lawsuit and things like that. And I got so many videos, like I got so many bullets in the chamber, it's not even funny. So I can't wait. All the detractors, all the naysayers, all you haters, come back to the channel, because I got a lot of information, and I got stuff that either people forgot or weren't watching boxing, so they don't remember. And I just got it in the can, in the arsenal. So just come back. But everything Crawford's going through with Top Rank right now, it says boxing is a sport with a checkered history, and because Arum is now dismissed as just a grumpy old white man. This is a direct quote. Arum continues to make racist and bigoted statements and purposefully damage the reputation of black boxers without any consequence. This is generally because the affected boxers who are in long-term contracts with Top Rank fear that if they speak up, they will be placed on the sideline, not given the opportunity to fight during the lifetime of their deal, which could be 5 to 7 years. It is painfully clear, this is a direct quote, y'all, painfully clear that Top Rank, especially Arum, judges people based on their race. Arum's sordid history with athletes of color, especially black boxers and fighters, and his bias favoring white and Latino fighters is well documented and known throughout the boxing world. This is all of what Crawford is now alleging. So when I've been saying all this stuff like, hey, ESPN, Top Rank, they're not necessarily giving you the fair shake. Every time he was fighting Amir Khan, they're talking about Lomachenko for no reason. They keep talking about Lomachenko. Lomachenko has, at this point, 2 losses. At that point, maybe he only had 1 loss, because it was probably before the Teofimo fight. But that is still a loss to a guy with double-digit losses in Orlando Salido. But ESPN talks about a Caucasian fighter from the Ukraine who doesn't all the way speak English, or doesn't frequently speak English, and they talk about and praise Lomachenko grossly off of what he's done as an amateur, some of what he's done as a pro, and they're stealing precious Crawford time to talk about Lomachenko. But then this is how Crawford is being set up to fail, and I don't know if he knows this. You got to think this through. Amir Khan was 2 fights removed really one fight, because one of the two fights was a Phil LaGreco fight where he destroyed Phil LaGreco in 40 seconds. That's not really much of a fight if you knock someone out in 39 seconds. You don't even really have to break a sweat, right? So he was really one fight removed from a crushing loss to Canelo Alvarez at the time, Amir Khan. That wasn't a pay-per-view fight. So this is how Crawford has been set up to fail systematically, is Top Rank put him on pay-per-view for the Amir Khan fight, didn't really promote it good. I have people in New York that said they seen no posters. They said normally for boxing, Wilder's fighting Dominic Brazil or whatever, Ortiz, you would see posters and things, PBC, Street Team, they'll put stuff in front of the Targets, the Best Buys, blah, 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 Subways. They didn't see none of that, they said, for Terence Crawford and Amir Khan. So you didn't really do a good job of promoting it. You didn't do, I don't really remember shoulder programming, all access, blood, sweat, and tears, whatever. I don't really remember that. And on top of that, you're talking about Lomachenko all the time on the telecast, when he has nothing to do with that division or that particular fight. And then you're putting Lomachenko, listen, this is important. Lomachenko has never been on pay-per-view unless it was like a Manny Pacquiao card and he fought on the undercard, because I believe that happened when Pacquiao fought. I want to accept to my promoter, Bob Arum. Pacquiao fought in Macau, China, and I believe Lomachenko was on that card. But I'm talking about as a headliner, Lomachenko hasn't fought. So you see they protect the Golden Goose, Lomachenko, and he don't have no negative stats. If Lomachenko fought on pay-per-view, I think it would go double wood. But he doesn't have that negative connotation with his fights because they never put his fights on pay-per-view. Can you imagine Lomachenko versus Teofimo on pay-per-view? It probably wouldn't have did that great, because if you remember the reports, Bob Arum wanted to fight on pay-per-view. He wanted to fight on pay-per-view, but then apparently ESPN didn't want it on pay-per-view. You get what I'm saying? So he tried it, but even lesser fights, Lomachenko in, what's his name? Nakatani, Lomachenko and Comey. I mean, that's like putting those fights on pay-per-view. They would do abysmally, but he never had to worry about that because rightfully so, Top Rank and ESPN, they didn't even put a fight that didn't belong on pay-per-view, like Nakatani and Lomachenko. They wouldn't put that on pay-per-view. But for Crawford, his numbers, he gets docked because you're putting him on with Amir Khan, saying, hey, the only way we can make this fight is to put you and Porter or you and Amir Khan or you and Postal on pay-per-view, all three of which have flopped because they really weren't pay-per-view fights like that. You know what I mean? And they didn't have dynamic enough personalities or stories at that given time where all those fights happen to really make that make sense. But now Crawford has a sales history of flopping on pay-per-view, and some of it is because how he's been promoted. Some of it might be his fault too. But either way, Lomachenko, he could fight the Nakatanis and Comey and Anthony Corolla. He could fight them on regular ESPN or the app ESPN Plus without pay-per-view. So he doesn't have anything negative. So Terence Crawford was very well set up. He was set up for uneventful fights on pay-per-view, which ultimately would not generate significant numbers. And then when they didn't, as predicted, which is easy to predict, that the Amir Khan fight at that given spot where he almost got knocked out by Samuel Vargas right before Crawford fought him on pay-per-view, that fight, he got dropped by Samuel Vargas, a guy Virgil Ortiz knocked out easily, a guy that Errol Spence knocked out, a guy that Danny Garcia knocked out. So Stevie Wonder, ribbon in the sky for all I'm doing it. 13 young now, baby. Things are getting right. Stevie Wonder could see that Terence Crawford versus Amir Khan was gonna go double wood, but they still put it on pay-per-view. Not ESPN Plus or the regular ESPN, where it could have succeeded and at least did good numbers for regular ESPN, like the Kell Brook fight. They put it on pay-per-view. And as soon as they did it and it predictably flopped, Bob Arum used this against Terence Crawford, which is now what he's suing for. and use these numbers and metrics against him. Like, hey, I could have bought a house in Beverly Hills, Malibu, messing with you, a very nice house. You suck. I can't make no money with you. You know, I just want to break even and I can't even do that. So he used it against him after the numbers predictably flopped. And then this is the man that thinks he's going to get 60-40 versus Errol Spence. I'm not seeing the vision. This is also what Crawford previously said. The video's on YouTube. Terence Crawford believes that PBC is freezing him out. So welcomes any offers. This is what he said in 2021. So he believes he's being frozen out. So if he goes anywhere else, then you believe you're being froze out. If you go anywhere else other than the PBC, how can you really say you truly want to fight Errol Spence? When in Rome, do as Romans do. And again, Errol Spence is about to fight AT&T Stadium on Showtime in a banger, in a fight that really could be deemed undisputed. See, I really know boxing. That's why nobody in boxing, they can't do nothing with me, because everything I'm saying is true. You can get mad. As I always say, you can dislike, but you can't disprove. You cannot disprove what I'm saying. The reason why I said Errol Ugas can really be looked at as undisputed is because Ugas just beat Manny Pacquiao and claimed and solidified himself as the true WBA title holder. So at first, Ugas was gifted the belt. He was gifted the belt because Pacquiao hadn't fought during the pandemic. So during that layoff, they made Pacquiao champion of recess. People complained saying, hey, that's wrong. Pacquiao's the true champion because he beat Keith Thurman, and they consolidate the belt. And Ugas, they try to do him like Devin Haney and say he an email champ. But Ugas, as soon as Errol Spence, I pulled him out of contention with the Pacquiao fight, then Ugas stepped up to the plate in a major way, like the E40 album, right? And then he beat Pacquiao. So that ends all questions about if he was a real champion, because the guy, he was awarded the belt, but then he fought the guy who had the belt and he beat him convincingly. So Ugas is a legit champion. Fast forward before that, Pacquiao fought Jeff Horn. I've told you from the beginning, Jeff Horn did not beat Pacquiao. I don't see that. I've never seen it. Other people like Teddy Atlas didn't see it. And they lied and said, Errol Spence, I remember he was in the Barclay and I interviewed him. He said he had Pacquiao beating Jeff Horn. And I'll try to find that tape for you, but I know I have it on one of my hard drives. But the bottom line is the public at large was not convinced that Pacquiao really lost his belt to Jeff Horn, rightfully so, because it was a robbery. Pacquiao himself said he felt set up. This is not my opinion. Listen, I'm so great at what I do. Everything I say, I can pull up. Everything I say, I can pull up. I'm the greatest when it comes to boxing, right? Boom. Manny Pacquiao feels he was set up in the Jeff Horn. Look, it don't take much time. I told you, I've been here. Listen, I recall y'all record because I really been here before, like Jay-Z said. Manny Pacquiao feels he was set up in the Jeff Horn fight. I agree with him. He beat Jeff Horn. They robbed him. It was his last fight with Top Rank, and they duped him. You know, somebody, you know. So anyway, he felt he was robbed. He felt he was set up, and that's why he never went back to Top Rank, right? In addition, so Jeff Horn should have never been a champion, but they allowed him to fake become a champion by saying he beat Pacquiao, which he really shouldn't have. And then guess who fought Jeff Horn? Then Top Rank fed this unknown Caucasian Australian guy who really didn't beat Pacquiao. That's who Crawford got to fight with ESPN and Top Rank or HBO or whoever they were with at the time, right? And that's why Crawford's resume, it lacks the qualifying wins that people really wanted. And I went to the Jeff Horn fight, and it was a great performance by Crawford. But at the end of the day, the world didn't view Jeff Horn as a true champion for the reasons I just stated. So Errol fighting Ugas and Ugas just beating Manny Pacquiao, Pacquiao shouldn't have really, the only people in recent memory that beat Pacquiao for real, it wasn't Tim Bradley and it wasn't Jeff Horn. Those were robberies. It was Floyd Mayweather and, of course, Juan Manuel Marquez, who hit him with that right and knocked him out completely, right? So that being said, if Jeff Horn, it wouldn't matter if he fought Crawford after, because he wouldn't have been a champion. So Pacquiao and Crawford have never fought. So rightfully so, Pacquiao didn't lose to Jeff Horn. So no one's been able to beat Pacquiao since Jeff Horn, and then more recently Ugas. But before the Ugas fight, the only other loss in that space was Jeff Horn. And that's where he lost his title, and Jeff Horn became a fake WBO champion. And then in Crawford, in executing and beating Jeff Horn, became a WBO champion, his first fight at welterweight. But that's why it's not as significant as Errol Spence being Ugas or Errol Spence being Sean Porter, because those guys were credible unifications. Sean Porter had a credible pedigree, right? Ugas just comes off the best win of his career. So again, when I say these things, I know a lot of people want to keep up, but you can't. Errol Spence truly is the big fish. You can say whatever you want and you can cry in the comment section, but he is the big fish, and he's involved in another big fight. And I don't see how Crawford can bridge that gap. I truly don't. I truly don't. The best thing you can do is join forces and try to get one of these fights, Keith Thurman or whoever, Spence Ugas winner. But as far as that, him saying he's 60-40 and stuff, how? Based on what? So you can't have your cake and eat it too. How are you suing your old promoter and saying that he hurt your career, but then you're saying you have leverage? Then why are you suing your promoter? How is your career hurt? So you can't have your cake and eat it too. Either your career's been stalled out, like I've been saying, like others have been saying, and henceforth that's why you're doing this lawsuit, or you have all the leverage in the world to demand 60-40 and that you're the A side over Errol Spence. But you can't really combine those two. Either you have the leverage and you're the big fish, or Errol Spence is the big fish. It can't be both. You see what I'm saying? And furthermore, people like Floyd Mayweather warned Crawford. They warned Crawford, and he was too stubborn or prideful or thought he had it all figured out and didn't heed Floyd Mayweather, Mikey Garcia, Andy Ruiz, Errol Spence, etc. You know what? Matter of fact, Floyd Mayweather, talk to him. Roll the clip.
Life is about taking chances and rolling the dice. What happened with me, I could have fought pay-per-view a long time ago. But I had a promoter that didn't believe in me. I had a promoter that had me playing the background. You know, I never cried and complained. What I did is said.
He said I had a promoter, if it's kind of low. He said I had a promoter that didn't believe in me. A promoter that kept me playing the background. So I didn't cry and complain. Listen.
You know, I never cried and complained. What I did is said, put him in front of me, and I'll continue to beat these fighters. Eventually, the world will see, and eventually I'll be a household name. So it took time. But then, once I got away from the promoter, once I got away from Top Rank.
Once I got away from the promoter, once I got away from Top Rank.
Once I got away from the promoter, once I got away from Top Rank, a company that that was the best thing in my career to get away from Top Rank.
That was the best thing in my career to get away from Top Rank, says Floyd Mayweather. I shot this video. This is my clip. I was 5 feet away from Floyd, maybe 8.
A company that that was the best thing in my career to get away from Top Rank. Once I got away from Top Rank, it was crazy. I bought myself out of my contract from Top Rank for $750,000. And just when I was away from him, just in 3 fights, I made $750 million when I was away from Top Rank. So I made the best move that was best for my career. And the ultimate goal is to put him in a position.
Talk to him, Floyd. So Floyd already gave Crawford the blueprint. Ego already gave Crawford the blueprint. You know, why not go with something that's tried and true? Jermell Charlo, everybody in this picture dang near got a big fight. I mean, I don't know with Jermall Charlo because they're saying Canelo might not fight him, but he'll probably have a good fight. Jermell's fighting Castano. Errol is fighting unification that could be undisputed, depending on if you consider what I said earlier. And he's fighting Ugas. And Crawford, what's he gonna do? Well, who's he gonna fight? And I told you, even at 154, it's tied up. All the best big names, established guys are with PBC. I didn't make the rules. I just enforce them. Let me know how I did in this video. Anxious to see what Crawford does next. That's really all I gotta say. Subscribe to the channel. We unpack. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster.